Hello, I think we're on air. Yes, there's a sign there
Yes.
saying we're live. Hello, Raymond. Hello, listeners, watchers. I am very pleased to introduce Raymond Aaron as my guest. And Raymond, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, I help you double your income doing what you love. And I know that for sure because I wrote the book, Double Your Income Doing What You Love. I've also written a New York Times top 10 bestseller, Chicken Soup for the Parent Soul. And indeed, I've written 143 books, every one of them finished on time and every one of them published. That's a big wow. I'm
That
also a
is a
seminar leader, a professional speaker for almost 40 years. I'm an athlete, an adventurer, a broadcaster, and a podcaster. But this show is not about me. This show is about the crossover coach. Anne is a dazzling coach. Dazzling because she has the technology to
oh,
take you from where you are to where you want to go. And she's got a lineup of clients in the past that she's done that for who are just so feel so blessed because of their association with her.
Raymond, you're too kind. That was a lovely build-up. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Somebody is probably very intrigued who just heard me say that and wants to know, who do you most help? Like, who is your target audience?
Well, I was trying to describe this to somebody recently, and I think in the main, the sort of person who's attracted to me tends to be female, middle age, somewhere around there, maybe after 40, somebody who's probably at a time in their life when they're getting a little bit less busy, and suddenly this person will take stock of where they're up to and are they satisfied. And very often my client will have been successful, whatever that means, in their career, and they realize they're unfulfilled and there's really something missing in their life. And that was me once. I went through all this and I got into personal development. I got really, really interested in it. And I followed people such as Tony Robbins, of course. Maybe most people start with Tony Robbins because his publicity machine is so strong. And then there are others, many, many, many others. There's Jack Canfield, Marcy Shimoff, Bob Proctor. There are various actors who've become personalities like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Carrey, and they're all on YouTube. But I found I was particularly drawn to the psychology aspect and then the philosophy aspect and theology, in other words, the spiritual side of personal development. And some of the practices which I learned, because I also came from the position of energy medicine, because, it's a long story, but I suffered an accident and had a sprained back and the pain just wouldn't leave me. So I started studying energy medicine. And if you're involved in that, it's very necessary that you take charge of the energy flowing in your body and around your body. And it's necessary to cross it over from left to right and up to down. It tends to be in a diagonal kind of movement. And this was one of the reasons that I picked up this nickname. My students began to call me the crossover coach, because not only was I crossing them over from wherever they were, where they weren't very happy, to where they wanted to be, where life suddenly began to look a lot brighter, but because I work with energy, which essentially is spirituality, I was explaining how they could use this crossing over technique. And Raymond, it really works. It really, really
Wow.
works.
So you are a woman in your 30s or 40s. You're successful according to the world, but you feel empty. And you
Mm,
want to cross over. You may not use that word, but you want to cross over or change from where you are to where you wish to be. And where you are might be in physical pain. Where you are might be in spiritual pain because you
mm,
have lessons to deliver to the world, but you don't seem to be able to do it. Or you might be in vocational pain That is, you're getting passed over for advancements and promotions within your job, and you're therefore not able to deliver all of your wisdom. So you have this nagging incompletion, this feeling of unfortunateness, that if today was your deathbed day, that you wouldn't have achieved what you wanted this lifetime. You would have died with your song left inside of you. And so that's who you are. If you're listening to this and any of that sings to you, this is for you. And the crossover coach is the agency, is the person, is the technique that will move you from where you are, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, psychological pain, vocational pain, spiritual pain, to where you want to be. And I know what that's like, because when I was age 39, I was $100,000 in debt, unemployed. My wife had just left me, 50 pounds overweight, and I was a disaster from age 19 when I graduated from university to age 39 for 20 solid years. For 100% of my adult life, I was a life loser. I started 6 businesses and they all failed. And one day I got a spiritual message, as if I had been under the guidance of the crossover coach. But for me, it happened in a different way. But for me, it happened by fluke. I wouldn't want to chance my life to fluke again. I wish I actually had or knew about a crossover coach that I could do it on purpose. But I just got a message inside my head, Raymond, you're a teacher. I said, teacher? And I thought teacher meant high school mathematics teacher, because that's all I knew. That's all I knew was teaching mathematics.
Funny you should say that, Raymond, because I was a mathematics teacher and a science teacher, which is why I come from a position of science. And what I love about spirituality these days is it's coming closer and closer to science. In fact, the physicists, the branch of physics, which is looking for the one equation that solves everything, the theory of everything, they are recognizing that spirituality is teaching and has been teaching for centuries the stuff that they've been trying to find out. And they're just gradually getting in touch with the universal field, the matrix, the mesh of energy that surrounds us all and connects us all. And it's fascinating.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Now, you learned this from studying the famous people that you mentioned before, from reading books, but also getting feedback from your clients. And I want you to explain to us one particular technique that you use, one interesting, valuable resource that you have that you might use on someone that you're helping.
Well, I'll start with something really simple. The way we breathe. If you have never had any instruction in terms of breathing, just notice how you breathe. Is your mouth open? Is it closed? Are you breathing through your nose? Are you breathing through your mouth? Are you taking a deep breath, or is it a short, shallow breath? Raymond, the vast majority of people who have never heard that they should do it differently, they breathe very shallow breaths, and the breaths only go into the top part of their lungs. So they're not getting a full dose of oxygen. Whereas if a person can breathe deeply into the bottom lobes of the lungs, then those lobes are much better supplied with blood. So the oxygenation is automatic, and you get you get more bang for your buck, if you like, with every breath that you take. And the other thing to be very aware of is short, shallow breaths actually keep you in fight or flight the whole time. So you're uptight and you're nervous. You don't realize it, of course, because you've been living that way all your life. But the slightest little thing will set you off. It will upset you. We would call it you're living in defense mode the whole time. You're always looking for somebody to blame. It's never your fault, but the world's against you. Everything's against you. Nothing works out. And you tend to feel a lot of anxiety. And that anxiety feeling comes definitely from not breathing properly. So a
Wow.
starting point for everybody is to close the mouth, breathe through the nose, long and slow. And in fact, one can breathe in and out through the nose just to get the feeling, because it doesn't do you any harm at all to breathe out through your nose. But the important thing is breathe in. And if you breathe in through your nose, the breath automatically goes down to the bottom layers of the lungs.
Wow.
And in fact, you will notice that your belly will stick out. And that's good. It's because your diaphragm is being forced down by these lower lobes in the lungs inflating. So it's
You
just
know,
really
I've heard about deep diaphragmatic breathing, but I didn't know that it caused me to be in fight or flight mode. I didn't know it would cause me to make decisions irrationally. I didn't know it would hurt me spiritually and vocationally and financially and decision making. Wow.
everything.
Listen, your listeners are intrigued. How can they get in touch with you? What can they do? How can they use your services?
Well, I posted a link in the description for this, which will allow my viewers to sign up for some free training. It's a free webinar that I'm offering
Wow.
because I'm going to offer a course of training online. Well, the webinar will be at the end of the month and training will be in the following weeks. In the past, it would be a one-day workshop. Sorry, it would be a two-day workshop. But because we can't make any plans at the moment because of COVID and you know how it is, we are all having to move our services online. So I've been coaching people online all throughout lockdown, and that's fine. But, you know, I can't reach enough people. I've got a waiting list. It's crazy. You know, word is spreading, which is lovely. But I've got so many people who want to learn this stuff that I've decided I need to hold classes. I need to hold workshops. So online workshops is the way to go. So
Well,
anyone who's
I
interested,
can't
please sign
I
up.
can't see I can't see that link right now,
Okay,
but
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it
can you
is.
can
Mhm.
you copy it and put it in the chat?
Okay, let's see where the chat is. This isn't Zoom, you know, this is StreamYard.
Right
R
at the bottom, there's an icon that says chat.
got it. Okay. Right. Just half a moment. Let me see if I can find it. Excellent.
And she's going to put up a link that will allow you to get a free coaching session from the crossover coach. Now, she may not be able to do it immediately because she's booked up solid, but she's committed to helping you. So if you just go to the link that she's about to put up, then she will schedule you for a free, no obligation coaching session, and then you can enjoy it yourself and see how much you learn in just one brief session. She's really magical. But when I say magical, I don't want you to think it's woo woo. There's science behind it and there's experience behind it. But because you don't know the science, it'll seem magical. You say, oh my gosh, I just did those simple things that the crossover coach told me to do. And now I make decisions better and I breathe easier and I'm conducting my life better and people are
Mhm.
enjoying being around me. It's quite startling.
Well, we have the link in the chat. Thank you very much for that. Raymond, I have to say that that link invites people to sign up for a webinar.
Okay, good.
Okay, but folks, if you just sign up for that and go through the motions, we will eventually connect, and yep, the coaching will happen if that's what you want.
Wow, that's very exciting. So go to the chat. You can see on the bottom of the screen it says chat, and she's posted it as a hyperlink, which means you just need to click on it and it'll open your preferred browser and go immediately to that location, and you can register for a wonderful webinar that she is doing, which she explains it to everybody. So you will really enjoy being part of that.
I'm just going to type a quicker one in.
A quicker link? What does that mean? How can a link be quicker? Well, I'm all alone. So what I want to say is I'm honored to be in wonderful relationship with the crossover coach. She has a lot of wisdom, and she doesn't just use one modality. Like some people are acupuncturists, and if you have any issue whatsoever and you go to an acupuncturist, they just recommend needles. If you go to a surgeon, they recommend an operation. Go to a doctor, they recommend pills. If you go to a chiropractor, they recommend an adjustment. But that's not what Anne does. As the crossover coach, she really gets into you. She really gets to know you. And she chooses from all the different modalities that she knows the best one for you. Like if you go to a used car salesman and you say you need wheels, he'll recommend a used car. Not because it's the best for you, but that's the only thing the guy's got. And the only thing a chiropractor has is an adjustment. And the only thing an acupuncturist has is needles. And they hope to heck that what they've got is what you need. But Anne doesn't do that. Anne looks to you for the solution instead of looking at her one bag of tricks. And so she has lots of modalities and she uses the best one for you. It's amazing. And that's why she can cross you over from where you are to where you want to be.
Raymond, I think maybe people have heard enough about me. Just for a little bit of light relief, tell us something about you. What?
Well, one thing about me, when I was 60 years old, I signed up for what's called the world's toughest race. It's a 350-mile, month-long foot race to the North Pole, departing from the northernmost settlement on Earth, and hence going 350 miles due north, hauling a 100-pound sled at minus 40 degrees, dodging polar bears. I signed up for it at age 60, and then I exercised for 1 hour to 10 hours a day. 1 hour to 10 hours a day while still running my business for 2 solid years. An hour to 10 hours a day for 2 solid years. And then on April 1st of 2007, the gun went off and I embarked on that race. And there were 6 teams of 2 or 3 people in each. There were 2 very slow teams. I was one of them because of my age. And there were 2 fast teams and 2 very fast teams. So I could only come 5th or 6th. And I actually came 4th. I beat the other slow team and I beat 1 fast team because I had 2 coaches. One is a navigation coach and the other is a high Arctic coach. In other words, the navigation coach told me how to do a better job than the other kids in navigating to the North Pole because they're all in their 20s and 30s. And my high Arctic coach taught me how to behave correctly in the extreme cold. And so I got to the North Pole. There's only several dozen people who've ever been to the North Pole by their own efforts.
Wow, congratulations. That's
Yeah.
phenomenal. That's really, really something unusual and something to be so proud of.
Yes, and I was able to achieve it only because I had 2 coaches. Everything I've ever done in my life, I've used coaches. I don't run my life without a coach. Everything I do, I blow by my coach first. And I'm always happy for their wisdom so that I don't have to study that particular stuff all my life. They can study it and I can just ask them the question I need and they know the answers.
Everybody successful has a coach. Everybody
Everybody.
well known had a coach. Think of like Tony Robbins. His original coach was Jim Rohn, and he's probably had many, many more since then. And Earl Nightingale was Bob Proctor's first coach. And so it goes. Everybody well known. Oprah Winfrey, she had Maya Angelou. Everybody that we know who's made it in life didn't get there on their own. Just doesn't happen.
I fear my battery just dropped a whole lot. So I fear I might leave the screen without any notice. If I do, it's not because I don't like you. It's because my battery went crazy. I don't know why. But we can still, what I've done is I've darkened my screen to keep the battery going longer and longer. So give me an actual example, Anne, of someone who came to you with a specific problem and then what they were like after and how long it took.
Oh, okay. I think I'll go with Becky. She was a very competent person, but she didn't have very much faith in her own ability. She knew that she knew how to do her job, but she was very conscious that nobody else appreciated what she could do. And as she was getting older, she was some very strange noises going on. Do you hear them?
Yeah, I don't know what that strange noise is from.
Yeah. Anyway, Becky knew that she was doing a better job than many of the younger people who were a bit noisier and a bit brash, and who were being promoted over and above her, leapfrogging her. And a job came up in her organization. We discussed whether or not, it's not coming from me. Okay, then. Yeah.
So please just help them how they get in touch with you.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, it's just too noisy. And I don't know what it is. It's not coming from my side or from Raymond's. So, sorry. Until next time. She got promoted. She got promoted.